Our Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has a pretty ambitious game plan for boosting Canada's economy at home and abroad. First, tear down those stupid interprovincial trade and labor barriers so Canada can function more like one big efficient marketplace, saving money for businesses and consumers alike. He also putting more muscle into innovation, with bigger tax breaks for research and development, better support for startups, especially in hot fields like AI, quantum computing and advanced manufacturing. On the global front, Carney is pushing for bigger trade corridors, deeper ties with countries like South Korea and the Nordic nations, and warmer welcome for foreign investors. While the US will remain a key partner, he is not putting all of Canada's eggs in one basket anymore, looking instead to diversify relationships with other tech-savvy, security-minded allies. It's a vision aimed to making Canada more competitive, connected, and future-ready. Here's a look what he had to say.
It is clear that we cannot count or fully rely on what has been our most valued trading relationship for our prosperity. And that's why we're increasingly focused on building our strength at home and finding new opportunities for Canadian companies and workers abroad.
Take a listen what our Prime Minister says specifically how he will boost our Canadian softwood lumber industry.
With Minister Hodgson, Secretary of State Fuhr, today I'm announcing a series of new measures to help the softwood lumber industry pivot to a growing Canadian market and to the markets of reliable trading partners around the world.
Carney's updated Building Canada plan allocates more than $53 billion in combined new and existing funding, covering infrastructure projects at the provincial, territorial and municipality level. Over the next decades, the government will also commit substantial resources to upgrading First Nations infrastructure and enhancing federal infrastructure assets. Let's play the clip.
Potential. This fall, we will launch Build Canada Homes. Build Canada Homes will start by getting the government back in the business of building deeply affordable homes, and in the process, catalyze a new housing industry using Canadian technology, Canadian lumber, and Canadian workers. Core to Build Canada's Homes mandate will be to provide up to $25 billion in financing to innovative private sector home builders in Canada. For the deeply affordable homes that we finance and build, Build Canada Homes will catalyze bulk orders of off-site construction of prefabricated and modular homes, specifying the use of Canadian technologies and resources. This combination will create enormous sustained demand for Canadian lumber products. And it's just one example of the possibilities. Just a few hours drive from here in Castlegar, Kalsnikoff Mass Timber recently opened their 100,000 square foot mass timber prefabrication and modular facility, the first of its kind in North America. They're adding new products and services, including prefabricated wall panels, mass timber modules, and trusses designed and manufactured for construction efficiency. And of course, the impact of Build Canada Homes can be and is being reinforced by provincial initiatives.
Mark Carney also has exciting plans how to expand the Canadian lumber industry internationally. Take a listen.
The fourth pillar is to launch new initiatives to deepen and diversify international markets for Canada's sustainably sourced forest products. These will include reinvigorated federal programs to market innovative, sustainable, high-quality wood products, such as in recent years, programs such as Canada Wood, which achieved many successes, including promoting wood-based construction to new segments in Asia. To build on this base, will promote the development of building codes in those countries and help to develop local building capacity with wood, combining them with sustained trade promotion for our products.
Ontario's Prime Minister Doug Ford gave a press conference just 2 days ago. Take a listen what he had to say about foreign investment into Canada.
And thanks to Windsor and every other municipality, the numbers were strong. This is excluding all the expansions that we saw. But in 2024, we saw 409 companies, foreign companies, come here to invest. And they invested $39.875 billion, so let's say $40 billion, and create 25,000 new jobs. That's how we're going to beat President Trump, making sure we're more competitive than they are. And when we aren't competitive, well, they go elsewhere. So we'll make sure we continue to make Windsor and this whole region and Ontario a very competitive place to invest. In the past 4.5 years, Ontario has attracted $46 billion of investment, be it in vehicle manufacturing and the EV battery supply chain, and that represents over 50,000 direct jobs here in Windsor and across Ontario, including the new $5 billion Stellantis plant, the battery plant. We're keeping an eye on that, a sharp eye on that, and right here in Windsor, which will help secure Ontario's place as North American hub for building the cars and the batteries of the future. In the face of tariffs from President Trump, our government will...
Listen how Doug Ford made it clear that Canada will not roll over and give in to the fascist gangster extortion practices.
I was at, and we have two choices with President Trump. You roll over or you fight like we've never fought before. And I think all 41 million Canadians would rather fight like they've never fought before. We're going to get through this. There'll be a few bumps in the road, but we're going to make ourselves the most competitive jurisdiction anywhere in the G7 for companies to come here and attract, and no matter if it's the economic development departments within your regions or Vic Fideli flying all over the world and attracting new companies. And I had a meeting with Vic the other day, our Minister of Economic Development and Trade, and we saw a list, 3 pages long. And as he said, the pipeline is absolutely jammed with companies that want to come here. And I'll tell you, when you create that environment and conditions for companies to come here, they'll come here. But our number one selling feature are the people. We have the highest skilled people anywhere in the entire world. We graduate 70,000 STEM graduates, and some right in this area. But that's not it. We're going to move that up to 100,000. And no U.S. state can say they're graduating 70,000, not to mention 100,000. And I met with a few companies, and the first thing that came out of their mouth, Mayor, was the talent pool here. You can't beat the talent pool, no matter if it's the tech sector, the health sector, or the manufacturing sector. We have the best of the best, but we're never going to give up. We're going to fight like we've never fought, as I mentioned earlier. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. It's Team Ontario, Team Canada.
The Trump administration has been a disaster right from the get-go with Trump 1.0 and continuing now. But there is one thing that Trump really has accomplished, not intentionally, and Trump regrets it. But there is one thing. Take a listen.
It's Team Ontario, Team Canada. And there's one thing President Trump has done. One thing. That's the only credit I'm going to give this guy, is he's united the country. He's united the country no matter what political stripe you're from. We're all Canadians, we're all Ontarians, and we're going to fight like no tomorrow. But thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
Everyone with open eyes and some common sense can see that the orange idiot's economic strategy does not work. Here Doug Ford, quite a conservative premier of the province of Ontario, laid it out in detail how Trump's tariffs are damaging the US economy. He gave different examples, arguing that Trump's approach is literally harming America. Ford recounted conversations he had with figures like Howard Lutnick, Scott Bassett, telling them bluntly that their policies were backfiring and hurting their own people. Take a listen.
That local workers are protected?
Yes, we've been reaching out to them, talking, but, you know, my message to the U.S., and if I go on U.S. media, be it CNN or whoever, my message to the Americans, this does not work. Tariffs do not work. I've been listening to Ronald Reagan a lot, and, you know, tariffs are terrible for the global economy. What it does is reduce competitiveness, and it has more of a monopoly. People rely on government handouts, and what that causes? That causes inflation. So it does not work, and proof is in the pudding. I've been pounding the president and Howard Lutnick, Secretary Lutnick. You're doing nothing but hurting the American people. When you tariff Canadians, you're hurting Americans, and proof is in the pudding now. The auto sector, you heard, is $6.5 billion they've lost. And that's just the beginning. It's just going to continue, and the mayor mentioned it. I've always said you can't unscramble an egg. You got to make the omelet larger. And let's grow together. Let's create the AmCan fortress. That's what we need to do. And then Procter & Gamble announced $1 billion loss, and Mattel and Walmart, and that list goes down. And they don't even have enough workers to fill the jobs down in the U.S.
During his powerful speech in Windsor, Ontario, Doug Ford let everyone know what he thinks about gangster fascists in the White House. And he did not hold back. Take a listen.
Small modular reactors. So we have everything going for ourselves. So I appreciate the question. Sorry, I'm getting a little passionate today about this, because that guy drives me crazy down south, I'll tell you. And 41 million other Canadians. So.
And here is what Doug Ford had to say about moving the Canadian industry forward. He talks about the auto and steel sector always seem to get hammered really hard when it comes to economical problems. He made it clear that we Canadians not just gonna sit back and watch. No, our government addresses this problem appropriately and won't stop, because we are coming out of this stronger, period. And he also addresses the ridiculous aluminum and steel situation we're having between Canada and the US. Doug Ford made it perfectly clear, again, that Canada buys $359 billion in US goods, way more than Japan, China, Korea, the UK, and France combined. So, no, Canada won't take a backseat to anyone, especially not the orange idiot and gangster fascist sitting currently in the White House. Take a listen.
Helping small businesses, we're going to really focus on the auto sector and the steel sector. They're the ones that are really getting hit the hardest. So we're rolling out the money, and I won't hesitate to keep rolling it out, because I know we're going to get through this, and we're going to come out stronger than ever before. And what we're going to do as well, we're onshoring. We're going to onshore all these products. I love using the aluminum can scenario. We don't have an aluminum can like the Molson beer in Labatt's that Flacky loves to drink all the time. That can actually comes from the U.S. It gets printed, gets converted, so the aluminum gets 25% tariff down, 25% tariff back. And I sat back and thought, boy, you got the Pepsis, the Cokes, the craft brewers, you got Molson's, Labatt's. Like, what are we doing buying the cans down there when we have access to our aluminum? Let's produce it here. So guess what? We have aluminum can companies coming here saying we want to do it. Same with tin cans too. Our friends at Primo down the street, up in your area, I think, Anthony, they're saying, well, by all means, I don't want to buy our tins anymore. All the food manufacturers we had at Queen's Park, and the total is about, they use about 1.25 billion cans. Again, that tin comes from Dofasco, gets shipped out to California, it gets converted and comes back. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I-beams, steel beams too, same thing. We're going to start manufacturing steel beams here. And anything that we can onshore because we have the market here. We buy $359 billion worth of products off the U.S. That's more than Japan, China, Korea, UK, and France combined. So we don't have to take a backseat to anyone, and we sure don't have to take a backseat to President Trump. We need to go full steam.
US auto exports to Canada plummet due to Trump's idiotic tariffs. Here's the deal. During June of this year, Canada imported a value of 1.08 billion Canadian dollars of passenger vehicles from Mexico. This exceeds the 950 million Canada imported from the US. This is the first time the Mexican auto sector has outsold the US in monthly data since the early 90s. Well, good for Canada and good for our Mexican friends. And why? Well, economically literate Trump did that all to himself by imposing 25% tariffs on foreign vehicles and therefore disrupting the long-standing free flow of vehicles across North American borders. A new poll by Liaison Polling shows Mark Carney has an approval rating of staggering 64%. Trump, are you listening? In government polls, that is not just good, that is excellent. And what's Trump's current approval rating? Well, shall we take a look?
Inflation. CNN's Harry Enton is joining us now. Harry, this is really a huge piece of why the president was elected, was to get a handle on cost of living. So how do Americans feel like he's doing?
Let me just say, this is an abject disaster. Abject disaster for the President of the United States. You mentioned it, Jessica. Look, voters on Trump and inflation. He won the 2024 election because he was more entrusted on inflation than Kamala Harris was, led by a margin of 9 points. Look at where his net approval stands today, though, on inflation. My goodness gracious. Into the gutter we go, underwater we go. He's 25 points underwater. My goodness gracious. That is where the Little Mermaid is, and he is matching the Little Mermaid. That's how far underwater he is on the issue that got him elected. He led on by 9 points on it last year, and now he's 25 points underwater. As I said, this is a complete and total disaster for the President of the United States.
So let's look ahead to 2026 when a lot of all the House Republicans, some senators going to be on the ballot. How is that shaping?
Yeah, if Republicans in Congress think that they can escape the wrath of the voters when it comes to inflation, I have a bit of a rude awakening for them. Trust which party more on inflation? You go back to the 2022 midterms, look at this. Republicans led by 13 points on which party was more trusted in inflation. Look at where we are now. Nearly a 15-point shift in the Democrats' direction. It's within the margin of error, but the Democrats up by a point. This just looks totally different from where we were back in 2022 when, of course, Republicans took back the House. That's what Democrats are trying to do this time around, looking much better for them. The bottom line is the wrath that the voters feel for Donald Trump and inflation is transferring over to House Republicans and now Democrats, although it's a small lead, a big difference from where we were back in October of 2022, with Democrats actually in the positive and Republicans in the negative. Very much the reverse of where we were just 3 years ago.
Yeah, and so how do voters feel about inflation in terms of where it ranked and what kind of priority it is for them?
Right. So we started off this segment by saying that inflation was the reason that Donald Trump was elected. It was the most important issue for the voters back last year at this point. And look at where we are today. What is the top issue for you right now? It's a runaway. It's inflation. It's 34% compared to the economy, which is basically very similar at 16%, Medicare and Social Security at 14%. But the bottom line is voters in poll after poll after poll say that Donald Trump has taken his eye off the ball, off the big issue of the day, which is inflation, and that is why Donald Trump is way underwater on this issue, and it's why Democrats have caught up to Republicans on the all-important issue of inflation. I can guarantee you this, Jessica, if these numbers look right now like they do, or will look on Election Day 2026, there is no way on God's green earth that Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives. These numbers, as I said, an abject disaster for Donald Trump and therefore Republicans.
I mean, I'm no Harry Enton, but 34 is
That's a big number.
More than double 16.
That is a very, very large number.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One big reason economically illiterate Trump was elected was his promise to lower costs of living for Americans. Not surprisingly, Trump promised and Trump failed. That is simply his MO. So MAGA, just get used to it. And honestly, Trump's approval rating is not a surprise. Seriously, just a quick recap so we know who we're actually talking about. Here are some of his most memorable accomplishments. Trump is a convicted sexual abuser and 34 times convicted fraudster. His mishandling of COVID left more than 400,000 people dead. He sabotaged Obamacare and millions of Americans lost coverage. After his ridiculous 2 trillion tax cuts for the rich, US debt exploded by 7.8 trillion. His trade wars bankrupted farmers. His failed inhumane immigration policies left children in cages. He quit the Paris Accords and unleashed pollution. Trump is the most racist president in US history, incited an insurrection attempt, and got impeached twice. In other words, Trump left America sicker, poorer, and more divided while his buddies cashed out. Please let us know in the comments below how you feel about Carney has handled his first 150 days in office. We really do read every thought and story you share. For more real news, facts and viewpoints to counterbalance the demagogic of the right-wing media, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to help the channel. Till next time, I'm Wilfried Lemkuler from Europe Curious.
Band it all together. Your tariff man is strong, and so you know you're not so great. There's not a snowball's chance in hell will be your 51st state. We really need our resources for more than we need you, so now just go. Walk out the door. We do not need you. You're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who instigated these trade fights? You'll soon grow to regret it when we turn off your lights in the dark. As long as we can think and work, we know we'll stay alive. We have all we really need. We can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. There's been a change. It's time anew. We're not that fledgling little country stealing all of you. We are now a nation proud that is happy to be free. You didn't realize you gave us our own identity, so now just go. We will survive. As long as we can think and work, we know we'll stay alive. Yeah, but all we really need, we can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. We will survive.
51st state, my fucking ass. Go on, Canada.